What's up, Facebook? Ty Credo with Credit Suite here. Today, we're talking about business credit. We're actually going to talk about the fastest, easiest way with least amount of resistance to actually go on Facebook to actually build business credit where you don't have all the problems that so many people are having when they try to go through this process. Look, we have found a way to condense years of business credit building down into only months. But there's a certain system that you have to follow to succeed. Don't get me wrong. You could build business credit without following the exact system I'm going to teach you. It just takes like years longer to do. So today what I'm going to do is just cut through the chase. Michael, what's up, man? Fist bump, virtual fist bump, to decode this process, to teach you exactly how to build business credit the fastest and easiest way. Okay, so we can get you the best results. So that's what we're going to be talking about today is building business credit, the foolproof, fast way to get you there faster, to get you to the finish line faster than where you may be on your own trying this process. So we're going to take a look about what business credit is, how it works, then we'll go through the foolproof system to be able to do this so you can follow these steps and have success for yourself, or if you're a loan broker, whatever it might be, do exactly the same thing to help your customers as well. Dur, what's up? Shakima, what's up? And I appreciate it. Elaine, that's okay. I appreciate that. I ultimately did wonder why you're doing that. I paid X drop from a B to a C. Well, it usually has to do with payment history, just so you know that. So take a look at your payment history. Okay, so let's build business credit the foolproof fast way. So remember, we're talking about business credit here tied to your EIN, not your social. So this is credit that's linked to your EIN, not your social security number. So the idea welcome. The idea with business credit is to get a little bit of credit, start a credit profile and a score for the business, then you let the credit profile and score for the business fund the business. You use the established credit profile to then start getting high limit revolving accounts that you can then use to buy the stuff you need to buy for the business. So ultimately what we're doing is using business credit for the business to fund itself. So you don't need all the outside capital to do so. Now that's okay. If you want to get loans, if you want to get credit lines, this is a big deal too, because business credit will determine how much you'll get if you get approved and even the rates and terms that you're going to pay. So it'll let your business fund itself so you don't need outside funding, and it also makes it easier to get the outside funding as well. So remember, the very first thing we've got to do here is we've got to set up this business credibly, okay? So you're going to need a professional website and a professional email address with the same domain. Here's the deal. Credit issuers with business credit don't look at your website. Lenders will. So when it comes time to get loans and credit lines, they are going to look at your website, and it should have a good detailed description of your product and services. But with business credit, they don't look at it. They're not going to look at your website, but they are going to look to verify that you have a website. They're not going to manually do it. Their computers will check to make sure that you actually have a website, that your email address is a professional email address. Stay away from Yahoo. Stay away from Gmail. You want to keep it, for example, your name at yourdomain.com, professional email. You need to get a phone number. It should be a business phone. Never use mobile or home phone, and it should be toll free. You're also going to need a fax number, and you're going to need that number listed with 411, your fax. So here's the deal. Don't use a mobile phone. Don't use a home phone. It's easy to see with mobile and home phones that that's what you're using. That throws up a red flag and can get you denied. When it comes to these credibility steps, that's what's important to know. Just because you miss one of these doesn't mean you'll get denied. Okay, but what it does mean is it throws up a red flag on the application. When the computer is processing your application, the algorithm sees enough of these red flags, it pushes it for a manual review. This is when you get that notice that you'll hear by mail in 7 to 10 days, which usually is not good, right? So our goal is to get you automated approvals. Automated approvals come by understanding the algorithms that these credit issuers are using and then creating the business credibility the way that you need to so you're not throwing up these red flags. So having a fax number, not having one, won't get you denied, but leaving the fax number field blank on the application is horrible. You don't want to do that because that blank space could throw up a red flag that can get you denied. You also, the same thing with toll-free. When you're a business nowadays, unless you're a local business, not having a toll-free number is a strike against you. So by having it, you avoid that red flag. And of course, you need to make sure the phone number is listed with 411, and here's why. Especially in the beginning stages of building business credit in the business, what they're looking at is that an established business has a 411 listing. 411.com is not 411. So you can't voluntarily go list your own phone number unless unless you use a service like we do called List Yourself. So credit issuers know this. And so they know that if you're not organically found on Google and Bing with 411, you're probably not established. So that's why they look at this little nuance, this little thing that most people wouldn't think about as a major credibility factor. So in building business credit, it's extremely important that you get a 411 listing. It's almost equally as important as having the EIN. A lot of credit issuers are looking at, so it becomes a really, really, really big deal. Now, Michael says, I don't have a website for my business that relates to my company. For credit, it might not be an issue. But again, when it comes time to loans and credit lines, they're really going to look at your website and scrutinize it as well. Robert, nice to see you. Glad you were here. And Jonathan, hello. Thanks for coming in. So toll-free number, fax number 411. Real address, okay? You need to have a real physical business address if you can. Here is the hierarchy per se. Use a real physical business address if you can. Best case scenario. Second, use a virtual address. Go to creditsuite.com/virtual. Get a virtual address. You're renting an address to get mail, not a physical location. So it makes a big difference. Okay? It's much cheaper than renting a location, and it still gives you the perception of being in a major real physical location, even when you're not renting a location there. Third option is your home address, but be careful. Some sources like Walmart will not approve you with the home address. You also should know that Dun & Bradstreet now includes Google Street Views of your business location on your credit report. So we have a lot of people that are freaking out contacting us right now because they're pulling a business credit report and seeing a picture of their house on their credit report. If you don't want that, don't use a home address. But a lot of credit issuers will still approve you if you're using a home address. It just doesn't make you as credible as if you had a real physical address. And worst case, never do P.O. Box and UPS address. I know the whole business community's been fooled to believe that UPS addresses somehow give you more credibility than actual home addresses. It's just not the case. When it comes to business lending and credit issuing, P.O. Boxes and UPS addresses are big no-nos, and here's why. They're housed in a database that credit issuers and lenders tap into and cross-check, and this one will get you automatic denials in a lot of cases. So although some of these will just throw up red flags, this is a huge no-no. Using P.O. Boxes and UPS addresses can get you in serious jeopardy of losing access to loans, credit lines, and business credit. It should be avoided at absolutely all costs. Alante, hello, welcome. Thanks for coming in. Danny says, what was the website? List Yourself. Yes, it's List Yourself. And I have one of the head marketing people for Yext coming on the podcast, YEXT. Yext is another service that you can use as well to get your phone number listed with 411 and to make sure all your listings online are congruent. We pay Yext. They're not the cheapest, so it's not right for everybody, but List Yourself can get everybody an affordable solution. Janica, welcome. And Jansen, welcome, man. Thanks for coming in. Love to see you. I love seeing you the other a few weeks back as well. So business bank account. They're not going to ask for this on the credit issuing space, but this will be asked for you will be asked for a business bank reference, which is a big deal, and you're also going to need all necessary references. So here's how this works with business bank accounts. You're going to need one, obviously, to get loans and credit lines. You don't need one for business credit because it's no doc. They're not going to verify any income docs, but they will ask you for a bank reference. That's their way of knowing that you have a bank account. You're not going to have a bank reference, a reference from somebody at the business bank that you're the bank that you have your business account with if you don't have a business bank account. So again, they're going to ask you for bank references. That's how they're going to know. Now, licenses aren't required in all cases, but some sources like Granger will automatically approve you for a $1,000 credit line just because you have a license. So if you're able to get a license for your business, like a county license, a city license, a state license, you might want to go ahead and get one because in some cases it makes you more credible the fact that you have one. Now, a lot of credit issuers, it won't matter, but some, like I said, Granger, it actually makes a big difference. It's the difference between a simple, easy approval for $1,000 and not getting approved at all. So just something to actually consider. Clarissa, welcome. Thanks for coming in. You also need to make sure that everything matches. Your address, your phone number, your name matches perfectly. This is probably the number one factor, ladies and gentlemen, that people's loans get denied. So imagine this. Imagine where you get a stack of papers that big and send to a lender to get approved and get denied, and you'll never know this, But what would happen if you really realized that the reason you got denied was because the name on your application didn't match the Secretary of State records? That's why a lot of loans get denied. It's crazy, but it's absolutely true. A lot of loans get denied because the lenders cannot verify the data you're putting on the application is the same as what they're accessing. So you need to make sure that all of your information is congruent. And as somebody just said, yes, Yext is expensive. Kay said that, yes, they are expensive. We were able to get it down to $500 for a year, but we use Yext because we understand the congruency of information. And here's why. We changed addresses. When we changed addresses, we knew our address was everywhere online. So we used Yext to clean it up. I don't recommend for Yext for everybody because they are more expensive. But when it comes to getting you with 411, the congruency online, it makes a really, really, really big deal. And Clarissa says, I just got approved for credit with Quill and Uline. Congratulations. They automatically looked up my DUNS number and didn't need my EIN. I'm a fresh business, just started last month. So let's provide some clarity here on what Clarissa said. They didn't automatically recognize your DUNS number, but she brings up an exceptional point here. What she just said was, I got credit with Uline and Quill, and they didn't even need my EIN. An important note, they don't need your EIN. No credit issuers need your EIN to either pull your business credit for review or report your business credit for review. As a matter of fact, I've done live streams where we look at the data that Experian actually needs to report data to them. It's as simple as your name, the name of the business, your address, and the payment history of the customer. So remember, they're not looking at your DUNS number to make the decision. They don't need your DUNS or your EIN in that case. What they're able to do is look up your business credit history based only on your business name and the state that you're in. That's all somebody needs to pull your business credit report. So great point. But you still want to get the DUNS numbers we'll talk about because some credit issuers won't approve you unless you have it. Okay, are you going to visit California soon? Danny, just there, I think. I don't remember where I was. But yes, I will be out there sometime soon. I know I'll be out in California in February. Watch our Facebook page. A lot of my live training will show you right there where I am. And Clarissa says, also, they automatically put me on Net 30 without me asking. That is the way that these vendors will work. And I don't have any history exactly. And we're going to talk about how you can get the same results as what Clarissa got here in just a minute. So make sure this matches perfectly. One of the biggest reasons people get denied is the information doesn't match. Now, EIN. You got to do two things. I have IRS, but reality is they can get your EIN. The Secretary of State is where you're going to choose your entity. So you need to get yourself set up, get your information. Once you've found the name and you know the entity's there, you probably want to get your website or at least your address set up, phone number, because that's going to be asked for with the Secretary of State. You don't want to change it later. Now, you also want to consider taxes, liability. Which one of these entities do you choose? Well, you should choose a corporation. An LLC isn't a legal entity with the IRS, but an LLC is a great option as well. An LLC and a corporation will limit your liability. You're not personally liable for what happens in the business. As a sole proprietor or a partnership, you are liable for what happens in the business. You are the business, not an attorney, not legal advice. But if the business gets sued, you get sued. If you default on business credit, then the business defaults, you defaulted. So when you are the business, then you're susceptible to whatever happens in the business. Corporation and LLC separates you from the business, which is why these are the best entities to choose, even though any entity can choose business credit. Now, once you've gotten that business entity set up, you need to get your EIN number. As Clarissa said, I didn't even have to supply my EIN. Here's the kicker. You don't even need an EIN to get approved. As a matter of fact, Uline and Quill as a sole proprietor would approve you even without an EIN. But you're going to run into a brick wall. A lot of sources won't approve you because you really don't look legitimate if you don't have that EIN. So you need to make sure you get that EIN established. It's free from the IRS, but there's a lot of fake services that will make it look to be like they're the IRS, and you get all the way through the process and there's a charge. Don't fall for that. IRS.gov is where you go to actually get the free EIN number. Okay. And Michael says, as I see code, let me see. Clarissa, thanks, Ty. And they said they will start reporting December 1st of both accounts. Yes. And we will talk a little bit more about that as well. And Michael says, and how many shares you will have for your company? I put 100,000, and it doesn't matter. How many shares you choose doesn't matter. Whenever you get big enough that it will matter, you're going to change that anyways. So choosing 100,000 shares for your business, 1,000, 10,000, it doesn't matter. But yeah, 100,000 is a good choice. When you set that up initially, you may be asked how many shares are in the business. $1,000 makes a lot of sense. Okay, so now you've got to get set up with the Business Credit Bureau, and Clarissa was just talking about the same thing. First, check for existing credit right here, creditsuite.com/reports. Now, what's interesting here, you're going to notice they're not asking for your EIN. All they ask for is your business name and address, because that's all they need to know is your business name and the state that you're in to be able to pull up your business credit report. Do a free search, creditsuite.com/reports. One of three results come up. Nothing shows up for your business. Something does show up, or something shows up and it says trade lines, indicating you have trade lines. This becomes important because Experian and Equifax will issue you a failing business credit score and report just because they know you exist. What happens is you file your annual report with the Secretary of State. They take that data and pull that data and populate a credit report for you. In this world, in the commercial world, you are considered a very high risk of failing just because you have no business credit. Do you have failing business credit scores now? You need to know. Go to creditsuite.com/reports. There's a free search with all three reporting agencies so you can find that out. Now, while you're there, use the Dun & Bradstreet link or go to creditsuite.com/DUNS to get your free DUNS number with Dun & Bradstreet. Okay, it's 100% free. If they try to call and charge you, which they will, ignore all their calls. Never get on the phone with Dun & Bradstreet unless you want to be sold. And they're really good salespeople. Really good salespeople. So if you don't want to get sold, if you don't want to spend thousands on something you don't need, never get on the phone with Dun & Bradstreet. They're never going to call you for anything else to sell you a credit monitoring product that's overpriced that you do not need. So if you don't want to be sold something you don't need that's overpriced, then don't get on the phone with them. Go to creditsuite.com/DUNS or search Google for free DUNS number. Get your DUNS number. Don't engage in a phone call with them. They'll email and call you. And if you do that, then in about 30 days, you'll get your DUNS. Some people get in a week. Some people get in 2 weeks. If you don't have it in 30 days, then you have to call Dun & Bradstreet to get it expedited. But again, do not forget, do not let them sell you. You do not need what they're selling. I'll teach you how to do what they're selling without paying them the money to actually do this. And Clarissa says, I got stuck on building my business credit profile for the DUNS. Is there any help figuring it out? They have me listed with my wrong SIC code. That's a simple fix, actually, somewhat. You can actually, again, they get a lot of the SIC codes from your Secretary of State. So make sure that your Secretary of State has the right SIC code. Make sure you're putting the right SIC code on your taxes as well. Whatever SIC you're choosing, make sure it's reflected on your taxes and with the Secretary of State. Now, that being said, you can go to a Dun & Bradstreet service called iUpdate. If you go to Dun & Bradstreet's iUpdate service, which I think you can get to through creditsuite.com/reports, then you can update any information with them and give them the correct SIC code. I've been down this road before. It wasn't easy to fix with Experian. Experian came back to me and said, we have the right SIC code. And I said, no, you don't. Here's my taxes showing my SIC. Here's my Secretary of State. Where are you getting the data from? The government and the Secretary of State have it right. You have it wrong. Here's my other reporting agencies that have it right too. I provided them overwhelming proof that everybody else had it right and they had it wrong, and they eventually did change it for me. So keep in mind, you may need to jump through those hoops to get that information changed. Now, you want to get the DUNS number, and you also want to get what's called a BIN number or a business identification number from Experian. You can simply Google BIN from Experian. I don't know if we have creditsuite.com/BIN. It might get you to where you need to be too. I'm not sure if we have that link set up. Next, we need to start building initial business credit. And Vanessa says, I plan on doing a corp with 3 different businesses locations under the corp. DBA as LLCs. I want one of the LLCs to be umbrella. Under the 3 corps, I want to develop business credit so the LLCs can benefit. You can do this, but here's what you have to understand. This is really risky because in our world, as I just told you and Clarissa just said, hey, I built business credit without giving my EIN. Yes, because your business profile is linked to your name of your business and the state that you're in. So if you start building multiple businesses under the same name or in the same location, it's going to create multiple credit profiles that you'll then have to go to the bureaus and have them condensed to one credit profile. Real risk. Anytime you're using multiple addresses, just keep that in mind. Of course, it says, will you automatically get a BIN once the vendors start reporting? Yes, you will. Nothing you have to register for. Experian will populate that. A BIN number with Experian is a business identification number. It's no different than Dun & Bradstreet's DUNS number. It's how they recognize your individual business in their system. Once they know your business exists, they automatically populate a BIN number for you anyways. But if you want to let them know you exist without them doing so, that's when you go to register for that BIN number. And Cheryl says, I applied for Duns like days ago and they called or calling, no thanks, just want my number. Yes, you're right. Good job. Because you get on the phone, they sell you, and I've got those calls recorded. And by the way, I told them I was recording the call as they told me they were recording the call. Great salespeople, great salespeople. I almost bought, and I know what I'm doing. Okay, so listen, make sure you don't get on the phone or they absolutely are going to try to sell you something you don't need. Okay, so vendor credit. So now we've set up the business credibly, EIN, all of our information's congruent. We went ahead and made sure we're not set up already with reporting agencies. We got our DUNS, we got our profile started with Experian. Next, we want to start getting what Clarissa had just mentioned, our true starter vendor accounts, typically on net 30 terms, which means you have 30 days to pay it back in its entirety. These are places like Uline, Quill, Strategic Network Solution, Gimplers, Granger. Here's some of them right here. BHAF. It lets you accept customers' payments, for example. Now, you need to get about 5 of these to move to the next step. And again, some accounts don't report, like your cell phone, but can still be used as trade references. So what you know is this. You need to establish initial business credit. Here's how it works. 1, you get credit with the credit issuers who report. In this case, Uline, Quill, Gimpler, Granger, Strategic Network Solutions, vendors, okay? You get credit with them, you use the credit, you pay the bill, it reports. When it reports, we call the account that gets reported a trade line. When you have about 5 of these trade lines, or we sometimes call them payment experiences, then you can move on to the next tier of credit, which we'll talk about now. I call this the vendor credit tier. It's the first tier of building business credit. It's the first step of building business credit. You need about 5 of these accounts to move on to the next step. Now, some credit issuers, as Clarissa said, will report your credit the next month in 30 days. Some will take 90 days to report. So as Clarissa did, find out. Ask the credit issuer, how long does it take to report? Because if it takes them 90 days, you may want to get an extra one that reports faster. People ask me all the time, how long does it take to build business credit? It depends on how many and how fast you're applying for accounts. So for example, if you want to get 5 vendors because that's the minimum and stop there, okay. But if the person that gets 8 is probably going to move faster because some of your 5 may take 90 days to report, the person that got 8 has the best chance of having the most accounts report within 30 days. Okay, Clarissa says, Wells Fargo offered me a business credit card already when I set up my business bank account, but I declined. Right. Look, a lot of places are going to offer you business credit cards, but then they're going to require a personal credit check and guarantee, and some of those cards report to your consumer credit reports. So are they really business cards? You need to know this. If they're making you give a guarantee, if they're making you give a credit check, especially if it's reporting on consumer credit, then it's a problem. But Wells Fargo does have a really good secure credit card that helps you build business credit that you should know about as well. So we want to get these vendors. Don't forget the non-reporting ones can still be trade references, which are asked for by many credit issuers. Okay, they're asking for trade references. Now, there is another alternative here. UBF, or unsecured business financing, is a way where if you have good credit, you can get 0% rates and 5 credit lines that report to the business credit reporting agencies. You get up to $150,000 in cash, and you need about 680 FICO scores for. So with this program, vendors don't look at credit. So you can get approved regardless of credit and without a guarantee and credit check. But if you have good credit or a guarantor that does, a family member, a friend, mom, dad, grandpa, grandma, business partner, then you can use their good credit to expedite business credit building. Here's how it works. Instead of getting 5 vendors, they're giving you 5 cash credit sources. They're giving you Visa card, MasterCard with a PG, with a credit check based on good credit. But these accounts report to the business credit reporting agencies. 0%, and you can take the cash out. They're hybrids between credit cards and credit lines. You get the benefit of 0% on credit cards. You get the benefit of cash out capability on credit lines. Okay, and you build your business credit with high limit cash accounts. So this helps you get future higher approvals because you started building business credit with high limit accounts right from the beginning. Great shortcut, but it only works if you have good personal credit. If you do, then go to creditsuite.com/get funding. Just one word, it's 2 words, I know, but put it together with no dashes. creditsuite.com/get funding, a handful of questions, and we can go ahead and get you approved. That expedites your business credit building, and you get up to $150,000 in money, even as a startup business. Great way to go as an alternative. Now, we talked about another alternative. Dun & Bradstreet has a credit builder, and they will charge you for this, and they will add accounts you already have in your Dun & Bradstreet credit report. But the problem is most accounts can't be added. And that's the problem. If you ever go to DMB's Credit Builder, look at the very bottom of the page in the small print. It's about a paragraph, and there's one link you can click. They'll tell you what can't be added. You can't add utility accounts. You can't add credit cards. You can't add lease. You can't add rent. You can't add bank credit. Well, if you look at most of the credit we have as entrepreneurs, that's what we have. We have utilities. We pay rent. So most of the stuff you can't add, it's a nightmare to add it. And if you add it, you're only adding credit to DMB. So you're only building credit with one reporting agency. You still have to follow the steps for the rest, and it's pretty expensive. It's about $150 a month or $1,500 a year to do it. So it is an alternative, although not a great alternative. Now, we have a secret test going on right now that I'm going to let you in on, and I'm going to tell you this isn't ready yet, but it's going to change the industry. It's going to be at creditsuite.com/monitoring. Now, creditsuite.com/monitoring, you can go right now and get Experian and DMB credit monitoring for only $24. Saves you about $2,200 a year from paying Experian and DMB direct through our NAV integration. But we are beta testing a service right now with a new reporting agency that's testing something brand new. They are adding utility accounts to your business credit reports. They're adding utility accounts. They're adding also your cell phone payments. So we're talking about satellite TV. We're talking about cable TV. We're talking about internet. We're talking about phone. We're talking about cell phone. They'll even add third-party services as well as utility and cell phone as well to Experian and to Credit Safe. Now, the problem is we're testing this right now. In an initial test, what we found is that a lot of accounts aren't getting reported right away. Then it takes a week or 2 weeks of them to work on what needs to be worked on to get them to report. So we haven't released this yet because we're not 100% comfortable that this is going to work as it should. And even when we do release it, the people that come in initially will be a beta and know that it's going to take a month for these accounts to report, and it could take another couple weeks if we have issues with some accounts reporting. But guys, this is a game changer for the industry. A game changer. If this makes sense and you like it, give me some likes, please. Because what we're allowing you to do here, not we are allowing you to do, but what you're allowed to do is to take accounts you already have and add them to Experian and Credit Safe without paying an exorbitant fee that you'd have to pay to DMB, which means you don't have to go buy stuff at vendors. You can actually use this to help you do this and then use the Experian credit profile to go get credit that reports to DMB. It's going to be a game changer. It might not replace vendors, but it makes it a lot easier for you to get initial accounts on your business credit reports. So keep an eye on creditsuite.com/monitoring. We may be within 30 days of releasing this with our initial beta. The credit bureau is already out there selling it, but it's broken. It doesn't work. And we can't sell something that doesn't work to people. So we're going through a pretty rigorous beta test to make sure it's okay. And we're going to let you know what risks you have coming in because this is brand new technology. But then again, that's the benefit of being an early adopter. You kind of deal with the problems. I don't know if those people, I'm the guy that gets the first iPhone when it comes out and then it doesn't work and they have to give me updates. And I'm okay with that because I'm an early adopter. I'm the first one that got it. If you're an early adopter, this is for you. Okay, but if you want it tested and proven, it could take years to make sure that they develop this and fine tune this enough to be 100% spot on all the time. But the early adopters, we're going to roll this out to creditsuite.com/monitoring. I'm hoping before we even end this year. And that link again is creditsuite.com/monitoring. I'll keep you in the loop on that as well. So we're adding utilities, mobile, power, water to credit reports. Now, as I already mentioned, you're going to need to monitor business credit. Remember what we've done here. We've set up the business credibly. We got 5 initial accounts. Now we need to make sure that they show on the credit reports. DMB charges $150 a month for this. Experian charges $50. We work with NAV at creditsuite.com/monitoring. It's only $24. And by the way, little secret that a lot of people don't know, we're getting ready to add Equifax to that as well. Don't know if the price will stay the same. We're working with NAV on this, but we are seeing in the quarter of next year, for the first time ever for our industry, a bump. You can get Experian, Equifax, and DMB. You're going to be able to do it all in the same place. And we are also building our own product that will include those 3, also give you Credit Safe, and also allow you to add the accounts to Experian and Credit Safe as well. Here's the best part. The credit monitoring for $99 a month, which is what it will be, will report as a trade line to Experian and to Credit Safe as well. So you're going to build business credit just by getting the monitoring, which is one of the things that we're working on right now. So some really cool stuff that will happen shortly But again, creditsuite.com/monitoring. You can also go to D&B and directly and Experian. $150, $50, and Equifax about $20 a month right now. Now we've got these accounts reporting. We verified it on business credit on the credit monitoring. Now we have 5 accounts. Now we move to what we call the retail credit tier. The retail credit tier is where we get retail credit. Walmart, Amazon, Dell, Staples, Home Depot, Lowe's, without the personal guarantee and without the personal credit check. Now, to take you for a little trip over here, here's the kind of real approvals that we're looking at. Very only as many as I can get in this space. So we're starting to see you can get the Shell and you're getting the Amazon, the Apple, the Office Depot, the Pitney Bowes, the Dell. All of these start to come. Retail credit tier, and the retail credit tier comes when you have those handful of accounts on your business credit report, and I just showed you 4 different ways to get the handful of accounts on those business credit reports. Now, little tip here. Things changed as of May of 2018. A new law went into effect where the federal government's trying to reduce money laundering. To be honest, the United States way behind the times on this. Other countries have done this many years ago. And so what happens is they realize that businesses that don't provide guarantees and credit checks don't have to provide identification information to the owner. So for money laundering purposes, the government now requires major banks to verify your identity. So what that means is it means that if you have a credit card issued by a major bank, which most are, Staples and Office Depot are backed by Citi, for example, they may ask you for a date of birth and a social to verify your identity. It is your responsibility if you're doing this process to make sure that they are not going to do a credit check or give a guarantee. You have to clarify that with them when you're talking to them. Otherwise, they may do a credit check if not. Now, most sources we've seen, this isn't the case. So for example, I went through and got a fleet card the other day, and when I got the fleet card, the second part of the application said, look, only for government identification purposes, we need your social and date of birth. They clearly stipulated they were only getting it for verification, which is the correct process. But we haven't seen anybody take advantage of this and find a way to slide in a personal guarantee or slide in a credit check, but you should be aware that this is happening. It used to be that we could do this all day long without providing a social. Now with this new government regulation, you're going to have to provide a date of birth and a social in a lot of cases for credit that's issued by major banks. That doesn't apply to credit. That doesn't apply to vendors because vendors aren't backed by major banks. So you're not going to have this in the beginning part of the process, but as you get further into the process, you will see as you start to get to the retail credit tier that will come up. So you need to know about that. Now, once you start to get about 8, then you can get fleet credit. This is BP, WEX Fleet Card, Chevron. These are more for people that are in the transportation industry, right? I wanted to actually see if I could get the fleet credit here. I was not successful with all the trade accounts we have. Why? We don't have a fleet of vehicles. We didn't have the vehicles. They wanted us to have the vehicles. So again, working in an office, I don't need fleet credit, but we have a lot of truckers, for example, where they rely on fleet credit. So you get to about 5 to 8 accounts, then you get to the fleet credit tier, which again is where you're getting credit to get fuel, to also get auto repairs, auto maintenance. The next and final tier has about 14 accounts reporting, and this is what we call the cash credit tier. This is Visa card, MasterCard, American Express. Okay, this is where responsible credit management, paying all the accounts that you've got matters. Okay, this is also where you can get auto vehicle financing, and again, without the personal guarantee and without the credit check. So this is the final tier. How long does it take to get here? It depends on your knowledge. If you know what you're doing, we can get clients here in about 6 months. We see a lot of clients go almost 2 years to get here, and here's why. Once they get those initial vendors, if they even do, then they don't know which retailers to go to next. Meaning you can start to get retailers to approve you with 5 accounts, but some need 8, some need 10. You're only going to know that with trial and error, applying and figuring that out. Or even if you're part of our Get Business Credit group on Facebook, a lot of people discuss their success, which can help you expedite. But again, to get to the very end, you could do it in as little as 6 months. Why 6 months? Think about it. It takes you 30 to 90 days, okay, 1 to 3 months for the first round of vendors to report. It takes you 30 to 90 days, because some report quarterly, for the second round of retail credit to report. That's why it takes 4 to 6 months, because you have to wait for that credit to actually report, which takes about 30 to 90 days to happen. So let's talk about some tips here. Only supply to social for verification purposes. We talked about that. Pay your bills early. Here's why. Here's how your business credit scores work. Okay, Dun & Bradstreet's based strictly on how you pay. Equifax is based strictly on how you pay. If your score's 90, it means you pay payments as agreed. With Dun & Bradstreet, if your score's 80, your payment is prompt. It's paid as agreed. Experience score is a little different, but if you add up these percentages, up to 85% of your score is based on payment history. That means you have mainly one responsibility. Pay your bills on time or early. Look, it's amazing to live in a world where our credit score is not made up of crap like credit mix and length of credit history and all the stuff that our FICO scores are made of. You have one thing that judges you, how early you pay the bill. So make it simple on yourself. Pay the bill on time or early. I pay it as soon as they let me pay it. I do not wait to get a bill in the mail ever. Okay, we instruct our finance team, and when I used to do this without a finance team that paid the bill, then the minute they let us pay, after the item ships, we pay it. You have to let the item ship or they will never get reported as credit. It'll count as cash. But after the item reports, and as soon as they let you, you want to pay the bill. And here's why I say that. Office Depot, Staples, when they ship my items, they will not let me pay. I go online to pay. They won't let me pay till they generate a statement. But the minute they generate that statement, I pay even before I get the statement in the mail. Pay the bills on time or early. Okay, guys, here's another reason it makes a big difference. Okay, my finance team messed up and didn't pay Amazon. It was a new bill at the time. They didn't pay it. We went late on it. We had so early, our scores were so high because we paid everything else so early, it didn't even impact our score. So the more credit you have that's paid on time or early, the more an oops doesn't hurt you because you have so much positive to offset that actual negative. So it's a big deal, okay? Pay bills early. Use the credit. More use means higher limits. Look, one of the mistakes I see people make when building business credit is they think these are just a series of steps and they take the steps and go, woohoo, I took them. Then they can't get to the end and they don't know why. Here's why. In order to get to cash credit, you have to have one account with at least a $10,000 high limit. That's simple to get if you're using the credit. But your credit reports don't show your credit limits. They show the recent amount of credit you've used. So the problem is that if you're getting credit and not using it, and your credit report shows less than $100 on every account, do you think somebody's going to give you a $10,000 limit account if all your spending's $100? Of course not. So get credit you're actually going to use to grow the business. Then use the credit. The higher usage is what will get you the higher limits. And that's what we want. We want $20, $30, $40, $50,000 individual limits. Okay, the clients that we have that use the credit get there. They have $800, $900, $1 million in business credit. What did they do different than most? They're using the credit to grow the business. And because they're using it, the credit report reflects that they're using it, then their recommendation of credit is higher and their limits are higher. And that's what gets you to the $30, $40, $50,000 Visa Amex card that we all really want to get. Okay, you also need to make sure you follow these steps in order. Look, I know you Visa card. I get it. You want the Amex card for 50 grand, no PG credit check. I do too. We all do. Okay. But it takes time to get there. Okay. It took us time to get there. It takes everybody time to get there. You have to be patient. You can't try to jump to cash credit first. You'll just get denied and get frustrated. There's a reason we call these tiers what they are. There's different tiers because there's different levels that you can get into. If you try to infiltrate a level before it's time, you're just going to get denied. Okay. And you don't want that. It doesn't hurt you having an inquiry on your credit report like consumer credit, although the inquiry will show. But again, it's just frustrating when you come in and try to get approved and aren't able to actually get approved. Okay, so that sums it up. Too much to go through and review. But again, if you missed this, go to facebook.com/credit suite and you can watch this video in its entirety where we mapped out this entire process. We also have a great free guide you can go to, creditsuite.com/Facebook, and you can grab a free guide that maps out with even more detail exactly how to do this process. And by the way, we actually just came in and radically improved that guide. We doubled the size of the guide. So we updated that guide with all new information and a bunch of extra details. You can also go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/credit suite. In Messenger, type in EIN. Our bot will engage with you, and then we'll notify you every time we go live on Facebook. We'll notify you when we go live in the stream. Right now, we're not doing anything else on Messenger. We're not spamming you. We just notify you once a week when we go live, and we notify you the topic. So that way you can join us Wednesday at 4 o'clock here to learn more about business credit. And again, here's the kind of stuff that we're learning about. What do you guys know about check systems? Did you know you have a whole secret credit system that the bank that rates your bank account? Literally, you have a credit score based on how you manage your bank accounts that banks see, and you can access it. That's what we talked about, I think, a week or 2 weeks ago. Fantastic business loans for startups. Not a few of them, a lot of them. Next week, we pull back the curtain on the Small Business Financial Exchange. If you know who that is, congratulations. Most don't. Okay? Here's what Small Business Financial Exchange is. It's a place where data is stored by all the banks. And it's called Give to Get. If you give them the data, you get everybody's data. So all the banks take your data and put it into Small Business Financial Exchange. And when I told you earlier that people get denied because their data is cross-checked against it, that's what they're looking at. They're taking your application data and cross-checking it against what's here. So we're going to unveil this, talk about where lenders are getting the data so you can better control it and have a better chance of getting approved. And that's what we do here. It's all about teaching you the formulas of what you need to know to get approved for the most amount of money for your business. So creditsuite.com/Facebook, grab your free guide. Make sure you go to facebook.com and go to our messenger, type EIN, grab that free guide there if you'd like, and we'll notify you when we go live every single week. And follow us, because every Wednesday pretty much on Facebook I'm here live, unless I'm out of town, which happens a lot in the last few months, but I'm back here for a little bit before I have to travel out of time. And don't forget that at creditsuite.com, top right of our page, we go live on YouTube every single week. Okay, we have tips on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter that we release. We even have a podcast so you can listen on the go that we have a lot of guests that you will not see in other places. So creditsuite.com/Facebook to get your free guide, or visit us facebook.com/creditsuite. And there you're able to type EIN to Messenger and get notified when we go live every week. Thank you for the shares. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the loves. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for the engagement. All of this is what gets this message out to more people, and that's what I'm passionate about. I want everybody to know how business credit works so we can get more money to fund the cool things that you guys are working on, and you can do it without the personal guarantee, without the personal liability, and you can do it without the credit check and get more money to be able to fund your business. So follow us online, and also make sure that you subscribe on Facebook here so you're notified when we go live. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next Wednesday at 4 o'clock Eastern when we dive in and unveil the Small Business Financial Exchange. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.